How can three women vanish from their own home without a single clue left behind? No struggle, no witnesses, just gone. For 33 years, the world has been asking, what happened to the Springfield Three? A long time ago, in a town called Springfield, Missouri, three women disappeared from their house one night. Their names were Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy. They didn't leave a note. They didn't pack their bags. And nobody ever saw them again. It's been over 30 years, and people are still trying to figure out what really happened to them. Who were the Springfield Three? Once upon a real time, in a peaceful town called Springfield, Missouri, there were three people who were very special to the people around them. These three were not part of a fairy tale, but their story has been told again and again, like one. They are called the Springfield Three because no one saw them again after one strange night. Let's delve into who they were. Cheryl Levitt, the mom who liked things just right. Cheryl, you say it like Cheryl, was a kind and quiet mom. She was 47 years old and worked as a hairdresser. That means she helped people wash, cut, and style their hair so they could feel good about themselves. People who knew her said she was always neat and clean. She liked her house tidy, and she cared a lot about her daughter. She lived in a small greenhouse at 1717 East Delmar Street. That was a calm street with trees and birds and nice neighbors. Cheryl didn't like trouble. She just wanted to live a happy, quiet life with her daughter. Susie Streeter, the fun, bright daughter. Susie was Cheryl's daughter. She was 19 years old. Susie had blonde hair, a big smile, and lots of friends. She had just finished high school. That means she was all done with school for kids and ready to think about college or work. Her friends said she was funny and liked to sing. She also loved animals, especially her dog, Cinnamon. She and her mom were very close. They lived together and helped each other with everything. Susie liked to laugh and have fun, but she also helped her mom when she needed her. They were like two peas in a pod. Stacy McCall, the sweet best friend. Stacy was Susie's best friend. She was also 18 and had just finished high school too. She had light brown hair and a calm, gentle voice. Everyone said she was kind and friendly. She and Susie had been friends for a long time, and they liked doing things together like going to the mall, talking about their dreams, or just hanging out. Stacy was excited about the future. That night, she and Susie had gone to a party to celebrate finishing school. It was a special time. They were both smiling and full of plans. They wanted to enjoy life and do new things. Three people. One night. One big mystery. So now you know who they were. A Cheryl, the gentle mom who liked her house just right. A Susie, her daughter who made people laugh and loved her dog. Stacy, Susie's best friend who was sweet and happy. They were like many moms and daughters and best friends. They didn't know something strange was going to happen. They were just being themselves, laughing, hugging, dreaming. But after that night, June 6, 1992, no one saw them again. There were no screams, no broken windows. Nothing was stolen. Their car was still there. Their things were still there. Even the dog, Cinnamon, was there. But Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy were gone. Gone without a sound. People searched. Police looked. News reporters talked about it on TV. But no one could find them. Their story became one of the biggest mysteries in the whole country. And that is why they are called the Springfield Three. What happened on the night they disappeared? Now, let's go back to that important night, June 6, 1992. It seemed like an ordinary night at first. Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy had been planning to relax after a busy week. Susie and Stacy had just finished high school and were looking forward to having fun. They were happy and excited about the future. Cheryl, Susie's mom, was a calm woman who enjoyed her peaceful life. The last time they were seen. On that night, Susie and Stacy decided to go to a party to celebrate finishing school. It was a kind of party where people listened to music, laugh, and talk about their dreams. They were having a good time at the party, but as the night went on, they decided to leave. It was getting late, and they knew Cheryl would be waiting for them back at the house. So, They said goodbye to their friends and drove home. When Susie and Stacy got home, everything seemed normal. Susie had talked to her mom on the phone earlier that evening, and they were both excited to see each other again. They got back to the house just before 2 a.m., ready to relax. A quiet, empty house. When they walked in through the door, they must have expected to find Cheryl there, waiting for them. But when they got inside, something felt strange. The house was dark, and there was no sign of Cheryl. It was quiet, too quiet. Susie and Stacy called out for her, but there was no answer. They looked around the house, checking each room. But Cheryl wasn't anywhere. Everything in the house was in its place. Nothing seemed to be disturbed. They checked the phone messages. Nothing. They called her friends, but no one had seen her. No one knew where she had gone. What was missing? Everything seemed just like it always was. There was no mess, no broken things. Cheryl's purse was still on the counter, and her car was parked outside. But there were no signs of where she went or why she was gone. There was no goodbye note. It was as if Cheryl had vanished into thin air. The next morning, when Susie and Stacy's family realized what had happened, they became very worried. They called the police. The police came to the house and looked around. But no one could explain why Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy were gone. There were no clues to show what had happened. The strange things that didn't make sense. There were a few things that confused everyone. For one, no one had heard anything unusual. No loud noises. No screams. No signs of struggle. It was just like Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy had disappeared into thin air without a sound. The dog, Cinnamon, was still there. Cinnamon loved to be around people. If anything had happened that scared her, she would have barked. But Cinnamon was calm, sitting in the house, as though nothing was wrong. The police even noticed that Cheryl's car was still there, parked in front of the house. If she had left, she would have taken the car. But the car was untouched, just like everything else. A terrible realization. At first, people thought maybe Cheryl had gone to visit a friend or had gotten lost. Maybe Susie and Stacy had gone somewhere else, too. But as the hours passed, it became clearer that something wasn't right. Something very strange had happened, and nobody could figure out what it was. Susie's friends, family, and neighbors all came together to search for them. They checked nearby places and even looked in the woods. But there was nothing. No one could find a trace of where the three women had gone. It was like they had disappeared without a single trace. The beginning of the mystery. This is how the mystery of the Springfield Three began. A mother and her daughter, along with the daughter's best friend, vanished on an ordinary night, leaving behind no signs, no messages, and no clues. It was the kind of mystery that made people shake their heads in confusion. How could three people just disappear like that? People searched and searched. Days passed. Weeks passed. But the mystery still remained. No one could answer the big question. What happened to Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy? What did the police find? After Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy disappeared, the police came right away to start looking for clues. They knew something wasn't right. It wasn't like the three of them just went on a trip without telling anyone. And the house didn't look like there had been a struggle. Everything was just still. The police needed to figure out what happened. They looked everywhere, but all they found were questions and no answers. The empty house and the strange details. The first place the police looked was the house, of course. Cheryl's house was quiet, just like Susie and Stacy had said. The furniture was in place. The kitchen was clean. The TV was off. The police even checked the phone records. But there were no strange calls or messages to explain what happened. One other thing the police noticed was that there were no signs of forced entry. That means no one had broken into the house. The front door was unlocked, but nothing had been stolen. The family dog, Cinnamon, was still there too. Cinnamon was a friendly dog, and if anything bad had happened, she would have barked and run to protect her family. But the dog wasn't upset. She was calm, just lying around like nothing was wrong. The police also checked the cars. Cheryl's car was parked outside. That was strange. If she had left in a hurry, she would have taken the car with her. But the car was still there, like she had just stepped out for a minute. The other two girls had their own cars, but none of them were missing. There was no sign of where they could have gone. The first big clue, a mysterious phone call. One of the first clues that came up was a strange phone call. Cheryl had talked to her daughter on the phone earlier that evening, and they were both excited to see each other after the party. But later that night, at around 1:30 a.m., Cheryl made a phone call to a friend. The call was brief, and it didn't sound like anything was wrong. Cheryl seemed calm, but she never mentioned leaving the house or anything unusual happening. After that, no one heard from her again. This phone call was the last time anyone could hear her voice. The police started asking questions. The police questioned everyone. They asked Susie's friends, neighbors, and anyone who knew the family about the night they disappeared. Everyone said the same thing. No one saw anything strange. No one heard anything unusual. It was as if Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy just vanished. The people closest to them didn't understand what could have happened. They knew Cheryl would never leave her daughter behind, and Susie and Stacy were both young and full of life. Why would they just disappear? They had plans for the future. There was no reason for them to leave without telling anyone. Theories start to appear. As the police investigated, different ideas or theories started popping up. People had different guesses about what could have happened, but no one knew for sure. One theory was that maybe someone had come into the house and taken them. Maybe a stranger was involved. But again, there were no signs of a fight. No broken windows. No broken locks. That made this theory very hard to believe. Another theory was that maybe the three of them had left on their own. But where would they go? And why wouldn't they leave a note? It didn't make sense. The police even wondered if one of them had run away, but that didn't seem right either. They were all so close to their families. They wouldn't leave without saying goodbye. The search continues. After weeks of searching, the police still didn't have any answers. They kept looking, asking more questions, and checking different places. But it was as if the three women had never been there at all. Their families were heartbroken. Their friends were confused. And the whole town of Springfield was left wondering, what happened to Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy? A clue that would change everything. Though the police didn't find anything big right away, they knew this mystery wasn't going to be solved easily. They kept the case open, never giving up. Even though time passed, people in Springfield never forgot about the Springfield Three. Their families kept hoping. They hoped one day the truth would come out. What are the main theories? As the search for Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy went on, people started to wonder, what could have happened to them? The police didn't have many answers, and no one could understand why three people would disappear without a trace. But over the years, many different ideas or theories were discussed by the people who were trying to solve the mystery. Some of these ideas made sense, and others were very strange. Let's look at the main theories that people thought could explain what happened to the Springfield Three. Theory 1. Someone took them. One of the first ideas was that someone came into the house and took the three women. Maybe a stranger was involved, or someone who knew them. But if that was true, why didn't the police find any signs of a struggle? There were no broken windows, no signs of forced entry, and no signs that anyone had fought. Cheryl's car was still parked outside. The dog was still there, calm and quiet. This theory was hard to believe because it didn't make sense that a stranger would come in and take them without leaving any clues. Still, some people wondered if someone from the neighborhood could have been involved. But no one knew of anyone who had a reason to hurt Cheryl, Susie, or Stacy. This theory just didn't fit the evidence. Theory 2. They left on their own. Another theory was that the three women decided to leave on their own. Maybe they had a fight or felt like they needed to go away for a while. This could explain why they didn't leave a note. They just wanted to disappear for a bit. But this idea didn't make sense either. Why would Cheryl leave her daughter behind? She loved Susie so much. And why would Susie and Stacy leave their families without saying goodbye? They had plans for the future, like going to college or starting new jobs. They wouldn't have just left without telling anyone. Even though this theory was possible, most people didn't think it was true. The women were too close to their families. It didn't seem like they would run away. Theory 3. A connection to the party. Another theory that came up was about the party Susie and Stacy went to the night they disappeared. Some people thought maybe something happened to the party that caused them to leave quickly or go somewhere else. Maybe someone at the party did something bad to them. Or maybe they got scared and decided to leave the house right away. The police even questioned people who were at the party. But no one could remember anything strange happening there. And when the police asked Susie and Stacy's friends, they said they hadn't seen anything to make them worried. The party didn't seem like it was connected to the disappearance. Theory 4. The mysterious stranger theory. One more idea was that maybe someone Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy didn't know had something to do with their disappearance. Some people believed that the women could have been kidnapped or taken by someone who had been watching them. This idea came up because some people believed that a stranger had been in the neighborhood or had been hiding nearby. But again, there were no signs of anyone being in the house who didn't belong there. This theory seemed to make sense to some, but without any real evidence, it was hard to say for sure. The most likely theory: someone close was involved. One theory that many people thought was possible was that someone close to Cheryl, Susie, or Stacy might have been involved. Maybe a friend or someone they knew did something bad to them. Over the years, some people in town wondered if someone who had been around them might know what happened but wasn't saying anything. There were many rumors about this theory, but there was never any solid proof to show that it was true. Why it's still a mystery. Even though so many people talked about these theories, the truth is, we still don't know exactly what happened to Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy. The police didn't find enough clues to solve the case, and even after years of searching, the mystery has never been solved. Many people still think about the Springfield Three and wonder what happened to them. The case is still open, and the search for answers continues. But for the families of Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy, the biggest mystery isn't about the theories or the ideas. The real mystery is simply, where did they go? Even though the mystery has lasted for over 30 years, people haven't stopped caring. The families of Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy still hope that one day someone will find the answers. The case is not forgotten, and while the mystery of the Springfield Three is a sad one, it reminds us how important it is to never give up on the people we love. Everyone deserves to know the truth. Why hasn't the case been solved? The mystery of the Springfield Three, Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy, has remained unsolved for many years, and many people wonder why it has been so difficult to figure out what really happened. While the police and the families have worked hard to find answers, there are many reasons why this case has been so challenging. Let's look at some of the reasons why this mystery still doesn't have a clear answer. No clues or evidence to follow. One of the biggest reasons the case has not been solved is that there were no clear clues or evidence to lead the police to an answer. When Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy disappeared, there were no signs of a struggle, no broken windows, no missing items, and no evidence that someone had forced their way into the house. Everything in the house looked normal, like nothing unusual had happened. If the police had found things like broken doors, footprints, or something that showed where they went, it might have been easier to figure out what happened. But since there was nothing, the police didn't have a trail to follow. No witnesses or surveillance footage. Another big problem in solving the case is that no one saw anything that night. The neighborhood was quiet, and no one reported hearing strange noises or seeing anything unusual. No one saw Cheryl, Susie, or Stacy leave the house, and there was no one nearby who could say what happened to them. In today's world, we often have cameras everywhere, on street lights, in stores, and even on our phones. But in 1992, there weren't many cameras in homes on the streets to record what happened. Without any footage or witnesses, it was hard to know what really happened to the three women. Theories, but no clear answers. As we saw earlier, there are many theories about what could have happened. Some people think someone took them. Others think they might have left on their own. Some think a stranger might have been involved. But the problem is that none of these theories can be proven. Every idea had holes in it, and there was no solid evidence to back up any one theory. Without clear answers, it's hard to know which theory is right. Theories are like guesses, and while they can be helpful in some ways, they can also make things more confusing. Because there was no clear evidence, the police had to continue looking for clues, but none of the theories could explain everything. No new leads or breakthroughs. For many years, the case seemed to go cold. That means the police didn't find anything new to help them solve the case. New leads, which are tips or pieces of information that help solve a case, didn't come in. Sometimes, people call in with tips, and those tips can lead to finding important clues. But in this case, there just weren't many people coming forward with new information. It made the case feel like it was stuck in the past. Sometimes, when cases like this go cold, it's because the people who know something are afraid to talk. Maybe someone who knows what happened is too scared to share what they know. Or maybe people have forgotten things, or they don't realize how important certain details could be. This has made the case even harder to solve. The passage of time. Another reason the case has not been solved is that so much time has passed. When a mystery happens, the quicker the police can investigate, the better chance they have of solving it. But after 33 years, many things have changed. People who might have known something about the case have moved away or are no longer around. Memories fade, and new people move into town. It makes it harder for investigators to track down new clues or speak to people who may have seen something. Also, police records from so long ago may be harder to access. Things can get lost, and important details might be missed. The involvement of the wrong people or possible suspects. Over the years, there have been many rumors about people who might have been involved in the disappearance of Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy. Some people believe a stranger might have taken them, while others think someone close to them might have been involved. But even though there have been many ideas, no one has been able to prove anything. In some cases, people even started to suspect people who had no part in the mystery, just because of the rumors or ideas going around. This made the investigation more complicated. A lack of new technology at the time. In 1992, the technology we have today to help solve crimes didn't exist. Back then, there weren't as many DNA tests or advanced tools to help figure out what happened. Today, detectives can use things like DNA testing, surveillance cameras, and special software to analyze evidence. But back in 1992, these tools weren't available. This made it much harder for the police to find answers quickly. Even now, the case has had some new leads, but without the right tools to make real connections, those leads haven't helped solve the mystery. Hope still lives on. Even though the case has not been solved, the search for answers continues. The families of Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy never gave up hope that one day they would know the truth. The police still keep the case open. They haven't stopped looking, and neither have the people in Springfield. Every year, new people join the search for answers. Every year, more people hear the story of the Springfield Three, and they keep looking for clues. It's been a long time, but as long as people remember the case, there's still a chance that one day, someone will find the missing piece to the puzzle. The Springfield Three may still be a mystery, but the hope of finding out what happened remains strong. And no matter how much time passes, the truth is still out there, waiting to be uncovered.